Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for staying. I know a lot gave up already. So my topic was, given to me was how to raise a sports champion. So I said that it takes the whole village. Okay, and so who are the villagers? The first one, I believe, play a part are these journalists. They give us views. So we must read the daily newspapers, the sports section, and see what people are saying, these journalists are saying. So I picked this article from the 1st of March, and the headlines was, "Preparing kids for the real world of sports is a fine balancing act." And this is Rohit. He writes frequently, and he said this: "I write this because the Singapore Sports School and some parents have been caught in a minor kerfuffle over whether students should return prize money and gifts to the institution. And of course, an agreement has now been reached. Yet, as I reflected on money, schools, kids, these 3 points came to mind." And so that's the first thing I think is very important. Money, school, kids, all important consideration for raising a sports champion, okay, in Singapore. Then there's another different kind of journalist I like to read, and this is from Red Sports, and this is Les Tan. Les Tan reports. And I'm glad that we have journalists like this spreading important messages. And this was after the conference in November last year. We had a few speakers, and this was Dr. Arnie from Germany, and he said this: "Junior success is a poor indicator of long-term senior success. Their success at age 10 had zero correlation with their success as a senior. Same was true with their success at 11 to 14, 15 to 18. We have zero correlation." They keep telling us these things, but we are not listening. And then he also said this: "Even in cases where talent is correctly identified at a young age, the chances of the athlete becoming world-class is low." And I asked why. And this is the reason. Consistently, those who were recruited into the system earlier started specializing significantly earlier. Okay, and that is the situation in Singapore, and we have to change it. Otherwise, we'll talk for another 10 years. And I won't be here already. Yeah, okay. And so those recruited earlier were more successful at a youth age, but they were underrepresented in terms of senior world class, said the professor said. And then also at the same conference was this Johan Pion, and he said this: "I come from Flanders, the upper part of Belgium. We have approximately the same population size, 6.41 million, as you have in Singapore, 5.67. We start very early to detect the better movers." Okay, not the champions, movers. It is important to start with talent detection 16 years before podium. It is important to know what children like to do, what they are good at. It is important to cluster sports to learn from other sports to develop in the right way. So at the conference, he gave us what they did in his country. Then it is important to transfer them to have less dropout than we had before. So they also had a problem of dropouts, and so they started this system. It is not witchcraft, it is sports science, he said. And he said this at the end: "We are lucky because we started top sports schools in 1990. And so I think here in Singapore, your system will become better and better. And in 20 years, probably you will have 6 medals as well. I hope so for you." Oh my God. 20 years. How can it be, isn't it, huh? We know, we have heard everything. And then he said, "I hope for you." So Who are the other villages? First of all, the Ministry of Education. In our ministry, in our schools, we have the up-to-date PE syllabus, great timetables in primary and secondary schools and junior colleges. We have the best facilities. You know, we all have indoor sports halls, school hall, artificial pitch, good budget, no lack of equipment. Noah. So you think I am dreaming? Isn't it true? Don't we have all these things? Every school, a few years ago, they said, we are going to give you an indoor sports hall. You find a space, we'll build for you. And already, I'm not sure, maybe more than 50% of schools have it. And then last year, or the year before, they announced that they will give every school their artificial turf. Isn't it, huh? And if there's a delay, why don't you pick up the phone and tell them, hey, put it on now? That shouldn't be a problem, isn't it, huh? So, I'm not dreaming. We have all these things. And so what's wrong with our system? Why can't we produce those 6 medals at the Olympics sooner than 20 years? Isn't it? Okay. Then our schools, our educators, our parents. I'm looking at clusters and our teachers and our parents. I have faith in them because things are really improving. This was also reported after that conference because these cluster teachers made a presentation and they're trying to change the situation on the ground. What are they doing? This is Marvin Chan, VP of Rosyth. I know he was a trained PE teacher. Yep. And he was sharing about this pilot project to give primary school children more chance to play sport. And this is what they did last year. Modified competition for non-school team players. So they got 6 schools in the cluster, and then they said, okay, we are going to have 5-a-side football and 3-on-3 basketball, and you send your non-school players. And they all had I guess they must have had a very, very good time. But this is what one mother said, Carol Holtloy, a mother of 2, thinks giving children chances to play sport is a good idea. While her eldest daughter, who is in Sec 2, made it to the school netball team, her younger P5 daughter does not play any sport because she could not make it into the school team. Is that happening? Is that what's happening in our schools? You're shaking the head like this. It's terrible. And who are our leaders? They're all from us, isn't it, huh? So we must press for change, quick change. No need to wait too long. People always say, hey, change takes time. Yeah, 20 years ago, they told me the same thing. And this is what the mother said, excellent, just what we need. In primary school, they should be allowed to play and explore a range of sports, also useful at secondary level if it counts toward their CCA points. I'm not sure about that part. Especially at secondary school, some CCAs are limited, she said. But I want to highlight this one. She said that at primary school, they should be allowed to play and explore a range of sports. A mom telling us, don't we know this? We better change our PE system and our sports system in our primary schools. I know there are many primary school teachers here, but of course you are influenced by your heads, and then the heads are influenced by their heads. And then another mom said this, Madam Fung, a mother of 2 boys, she's glad that her son's primary school has a sports carnival. And she says it has 2 tracks, not the running tracks, but 2 playing tracks at its sports carnival. 1 regular and 1 modified for the kids who just enjoy themselves. Both my kids appreciate it. I do wish it were a regular affair though. Hey, let me advise schools, right? You have one-off carnival, you waste a lot of money. Put that money into what the cluster people did. What's the point of busing the children to the stadium and then all doing one day and then, wow, finish already? Waste of money, waste of time, okay? And then this cluster, the report on this cluster thing said, and to encourage sportsmanship, students nominated players from the opposing teams who displayed the Olympic values of friendship, respect, and excellence. This is Ahmad Zori. I think, Azhar, where are you? Azhar, have you gone? Zori, your teammate. Rugby. I know, in rugby, isn't it, huh? Yeah. He traveled with you. Then, here, these are the, and so even in this, at that level, they were talking about qualities of sports champions and so on. And it also allows many opportunities for them to display acts of sportsmanship and get recognized for it. And then, and also, when they did this project, speakers from PSAP and NYSI held pre-competition workshops for the students. And this is one of the young participants said, we were taught how to manage our competition stress using breathing techniques and how the amount of sleep and water we drink can affect our performance. So many things can be done at the cluster level, isn't it? Huh? And so the subject head said that we are moving towards a more balanced and holistic model of sports participation. So, next villager is our Minister of Education, PSAP branch. You know, we have national championships in many sports at primary level. No need. Put that money in the clusters. Get rid of all the national competitions at the primary school level. I wonder whether in any country they have national level competitions for primary schools. If not, then let's also get rid of ours. But we replace it with what an example will be what the clusters are doing. More children can play, and they will get a competition anyway. What does it matter whether they are going to play at the national level or competing at the school, within the school and among a few schools, okay? So that's an idea that we can do. So I'm saying keep it going throughout the year, but with as many sports as possible, and that will prevent specialization. And you can do it, isn't it? Because we have trained PE teachers in every school. We have been training PE teachers since 1984. Trained PE teachers, you know. Not like before the College of Physical Education and School of Physical Education. Okay, so we have the teachers, we have the expertise, and maybe this is a way of maximizing. The next village will be these people, the direct school admission. It has an influence. And of course, because of this, there are lots of private coaches coming up. Nothing wrong with that, because that just shows the success of creating our sports industry. Yeah, you know, I think 10, 15 years ago, they said, hey, we must have a sports industry. And so this is a major part of our sports industry, coaches, isn't it? But the problem is this. Because of this DSA, there is early training. A lot of parents send their children because they want to get a place in DSA through sports. And that has led to early specialization. And early specialization, of course, now we have heard today, there will be dropouts, either by injuries or by boredom or, yeah, enough already kind of attitude. So, or should we leave it to the parents to decide? Maybe parents know all these things, but they say, never mind, I just want my child to go to the good school enough. Whether they will continue with sports, doesn't matter. Just get into the good school. And listening to parents, this is on the 25th of January. They were talking about this DSA, and one of the parents said, oh, sorry, go back. Children are being sent for training in sport or music and art, theater or dance, even before they start primary school, because they already have the idea of DSA. And then this parent suggested admission through sports, music, and art should be limited to only a small number of pupils with exceptional talent. I don't know whether this is the way to go. Things might change, yeah? Because we must always be warned of early specialization. Or should we wait for MOE's review and then let the parents choose? Of course, the review was announced, isn't it, huh? And this was just on yesterday. Focus on sport, art, and specific academic talent for direct entry. So they made some announcements about the DSA. And then this is what the parent said. One parent said at the end. Lydia Wong, who has 2 primary school-going children, said, for years, parents have tried to game the system, such as by sending their kids for special classes to prepare them. But I'm glad the MOE is tackling the problem and returning the DSA to its original intent to recognize specific talents. Only then can we help kids to nurture their gifts. I really didn't understand what is the difference. Because there is still DSA. And so this will stop parents from sending them. If you are a parent, are you going to, if you are interested in DSA, what are you going to do? You're going to send, isn't it? So I'm not very sure. I guess somebody is going to give me a lecture about this. I'll get scolded, never mind. But, you know, for the past one day, I really didn't understand this part. Okay, so, or I believe we have a solution. We should bring everybody under Active SG academies and clubs. Because we have the trained people, we have the facilities, and parents have to just sign up onto our programs. And we already have Active SG football academies, tennis academies, basketball academies, athletics clubs, and 2 months ago we launched Active SG Outdoor Adventure Club, and a few more are coming up. It was announced yesterday. And so parents can sign up, and then we can solve the problem of early specialization. Okay? Then we have the JSAs, Junior Sports Academies, where P4 students who are interested in sports and who demonstrate good abilities in physical domains. There's no prior training in sports required. They go through 5 tests. I think last Saturday they went through, and then tomorrow they will go through the test again. And these are the areas that they will go through, and then they will spend part of P4 and P5 and part of P6. It's a 2-year program, but they just go through these things, and you can see now we have them in clusters. And maybe I think this may be our answer to Dr. Pion from Flanders, because we are also grouping. And that's what he said. That's what they did. And so maybe this is also can be our solution. Then we have Singapore Sports School. This is the MCC Wise Baby. And I'm just afraid that is sports school under pressure to win championships? If they are, then they will also lead to early specialization in some sports we should not specialize in too early. So I think sports school also is reviewing and planning and putting in new schemes so that their students do not specialize too early and then drop out too early. Maybe we should find out what the sports schools in Flanders are doing so that we don't make the same mistakes and we can do the right things. And of course, we should always ask, how did May and Colin Schooling raise Joseph? From childhood to overseas schooling, to NS deferment, to Rio Gold. I just had, last week I had a conversation with Joseph about these things. He gave me his book. This was published late 2016. And if you look inside here, they took him to Beijing in 2008 to expose him to the vibe and atmosphere of the Olympic Games. 12 or 13 years old. This is a very special family, right? I'm not sure whether all families can do this. And I was very interested in seeing this after he smashed the record. And when I was talking to Joseph, he said this. Joseph started early, but clearly, this is what the impression I got. He did not overtrain. From the beginning, the focus was on fun. He played golf, tennis, bowling, billiards, did hiking, and he also said football, but it was in the younger ages. I'm glad he did not continue with football at the later ages. But the thing that I wanted to point out today was this little caption here. This is Keenan Robinson, High Performance Director of United States National Swim Team, and he said this. He said, of course, Joseph can medal at the freestyle event at the Olympics, but what I was interested in this part here, he said this. One thing I picked up, though, is the amount of academic demands on students here. Perhaps that was one of the reasons Joseph and Sen-Wen went overseas, where the environment facilitated a high level of academic education and the ability to train and compete. So is this how to raise a sports champion? Or can we do it here? Okay, so if we really look at the role of all the villagers, I think maybe we can do it here. And so this was on the 7th of March, the new blueprint for success, SSA master plan, they was published just a few days ago. But when you publish something, make sure that everybody is on the same page. This is David Lim. He said, yeah, okay, the master plan is okay, but he wants to get more details. They want to help, but how? What is our role? Said the Swim Fast Aquatic Club founder and consultant for Chinese Swimming Club. Also, at the end of the day, I want to know whether my bottom line would be affected. So these are all the villagers, and we must look after them. So NSAs, when they plan something, then everybody must be on the same page. So the NSAs, also, people must go into the NSA as a team, must work as a team. And this is a big problem in Singapore among our NSAs. And we also it's time to change the we are volunteers mentality. Don't volunteer, go in and work. And so that they can focus on how to raise a sports champion. And so these are all the news that's coming out in the newspapers in the last few days. Join forces ahead. Join forces. Yeah, and I like to tell NSAs, join forces, yes, but don't kill the others. Because there are many people who like to serve in the NSAs. And then this is just in today's paper, in the new paper. Strong leadership needed for all NSAs, not just FAS. And this our NSAs need leaders who can unite their fraternities around a sound strategic plan for the development of their sport. This is sorely lacking in Singapore. So NSAs are very crucial villagers. And so they also have to start thinking and talking like what we are doing here today. Otherwise, we'll be back where we are right now. And this was an article written on the 2nd of March, and I saw new F1 race, and then mock, and the marathoners are talking away there. But what was interesting to me was this one here. This is the under 20 girl winning a fencing gold. And this is what level? Just to say that we have talent, yeah? And she's 16 years old, RI, year 5 student, gold in the under 20 Asian Junior Championships. This is talent, isn't it? And of course, this was just 2 days ago, where the Fencing Association had this article out, getting to the point with top coaches. So Fencing Association has this now, China's former national men's saber head coach, Britain's former head national coach, epi coach, and of course we also have our national epi coach, And so we have all these people, but this is what one of the coaches said. He said this: Min admitted that fielding a Singaporean fencer at the Olympics would be an uphill task, as locals do not train as often as their Asian competitors who do so full-time. So that Raffles girl, year 5 girl, has she got to go full-time so that she can improve? Or can something be done at the school level, at the NSA level, at the higher level, to encourage her, to give her a chance to train without having to go full-time? There must be a way of doing it. No other way? Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Sports Singapore and sports science. Many basic things to grasp. So we have started on the coach development programs at SSI. And then this was mentioned, this was today, right, in today's paper. Huge boost for sports, for Singapore sports. And this is coming from ministry, coming through our Sports Singapore. The Singapore government will pump in 50 million into high-performance sport. High-performance sport is going to be taken care of, 10 million in a year. Maybe some of you might say it's not enough and so on, but that's only one source, isn't it? Huh? and if all these corporates and parents and wider public rally behind our athletes, I think we will be successful. Okay, so this is coming from our minister from the ministry. And also she said this, a talented and dedicated athlete is a necessary starting point, said Grace Fu. This was in the parliament. To groom that athlete into a world champion, we need great coaches supported by deep sports science and sports medicine capabilities. Sports science, I think that is the missing link. We have sports scientists, we have experts in these areas, but this message is not getting to the coaches and to the trainees. For example, if I gave you this little title below a table, it says, contribution of anaerobically and aerobically produced ATP for use during sports. What do you think? Have you heard of these things? Anaerobically and aerobically, I think that one you know, huh? ATP? Who has heard of ATP? No, huh? One, right at the back there. Here. Because he attended my class. Hey, ATP is the name that you should give to your first child. Okay, and then for use during sports. Sports is us. So every single coach must know what is this ATP and how is ATP produced aerobically and aerobically. Right? Because then you have this table. And who is this table for? Only for sports science students. For athletes, yes. Athletes must know this. Coaches must know this. So this is another missing link. And about sports science, this was also a few days ago. The shooter said, shooters get scientific. Wow. We need that, isn't it? And so here it says, our shooter, young shooter, she said, hopefully with all the results they have collected, we will know much more about ourselves and can improve during training, how we can improvise our training plan so that we can improve our performances at competitions. Finally, sports science is going to help them. How come? Now only. Last time didn't have sports science? We had, isn't it? And then President said, shooting is a special sport. We can bring a shooter up to a technical, to world class level, but the problem of shooting at the top level is that on the day of competition, it becomes a mental thing. I'm sure everybody knew that, right, from the beginning. But now we are going to have research and find a solution to help our shooters. At least we make a start, huh? But even sports science, I tell you, it's very hard to get down to the coaches and players. I give you an example. The king who lost power to his men. This is from the sports, football team. In the last season, he got the league title. Never ever before. They are bottom of the table and they were champions. And then this year they are back at the bottom of the table, so he's sacked. Okay. And so this was reported. For Claudio Ranieri, it was not enough that he had pulled off one of the most remarkable successes in the history of team sport by winning the English Premier League with rank outsiders Leicester City last season. But he was sacked. And he was said to be stunned and shocked that there was no justification beyond a brief explanation that the owners wanted change. The Italian, take note of that paragraph. The Italian was persuaded by his coaching and sports science staff to reduce the players' workload last season. But there have been complaints from the dressing room that a more intense schedule has had a negative impact on results. Nobody talked about this. They talk about everything else. This is a problem. Coach changes on the advice of sports scientists. And then in the dressing room, they object. And then he gets sacked. Instead of listening to the coach and the sports science. And this is happening in our sports also. The sports science does not get down to the players and the coaches. So we have to change that. I know my time is up. The parents are important. Yep. I think I'll just go through the headlines. Get enough sleep, tough for kids and teens. It says 8 to 10 hours of sleep essential for well-being of children, experts say. But are we listening? No. Yeah. And of course, there are examples of people who really can do it. This is former TV host Diana Sir and her family, and how she makes sure that her children do get their sleep. And that's very important. And so the Nurture SG committee issued a slew of recommendations to promote a healthy lifestyle among children here on Thursday. And then parents said, yeah, it's so idealistic. Some parents find the recommendations idealistic and impractical. So scientists tell us something, but parents will say something else. And so my question is, how to raise a sports champion? Okay, so let me stop there, and then now we will see what we can talk about later. Thank you. Thank you.